Good afternoon and welcome to this afternoon's hearing. Before we begin, I want to ask Mr. Randall Dong to read the docket.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the application of Moving Gurus LLC for a Class E Household Goods Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity, docket number 2019-394T.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to take appearances, and I'm just going to, since we're virtual and a lot on the phone, I'm going to sort of call the roll, and we will do that for the applicant. Mr. Charles Terraney, the attorney for the applicant.
I'm here, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Welcome. Mr. Michael Wright, the applicant.
I'm here, sir.
Great. Thank you. Ms. Jenny Pittman from the Office of Regulatory Staff.
I'm here.
And Thomas McGill from Office of Regulatory Staff.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there anything preliminarily that we need to do before we get started? Okay, if not, we will get Mr. Terraney to go ahead and present the case.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I first of all do want to thank the Commission for allowing our work to proceed under these trying circumstances. Hopefully this can be a template for things to come. And I know Mr. Wright appreciates the opportunity to present his case. At the outset, I would like to introduce into evidence the application as well as the affidavit of the shipper witness, which was accepted by the hearing officer earlier in this case.
Okay, so we will enter the application, and do we need to do them separately? The application is hearing exhibit number 1, and the affidavit of the shipper witness is hearing exhibit number 2.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Next, we would like to call Mr. Wright to testify on behalf of the applicant.
Okay, and I will swear Mr. Wright in as the applicant. So, Mr. Wright, do you solemnly affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Terraney.
Mr. Wright, did you prepare or cause to be prepared 5 pages of pre-filed testimony with a verification in this docket on March 18th, 2020?
Yes, I did.
And, Mr. Chairman, I would point out that we filed testimony twice, on March 17th, 2020, and then we filed testimony with a verification on March 18th, 2020, and with exhibits that were changed to reflect some changes that Mr. Wright made after consultation with the ORS. That testimony was filed.
Mr. Terraney, did we lose you? He's dialing back in.
Okay. Okay, we've lost Mr. Terraney for a minute, but I think he's trying to call back in.
I apologize. I'm not sure what happened, but I just got cut off there.
Okay. So we lost you and we lost Mr. Terraney. He's calling back in as well, so we'll don't know what happened.
I'm not sure. Technology.
That's it.
Hello.
Okay, do we have Mr. Terraini yet?
Do you have me back, Mr. Chairman?
Okay. Okay, we do have Mr.
Turned your rules on
Terraini.
my case. Mr. Wright, do you have any corrections or additions you wish to make to your testimony?
I do not.
If I asked you the questions in that testimony today, would your answers be the same?
They would.
Did your testimony have two exhibits, and Exhibit A was a tariff and Exhibit B a bill of lading?
Yes.
Do you have any changes you wish to make to those exhibits?
No, I don't.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to introduce the pre-filed testimony in Exhibits A and B of Michael Wright into evidence at this time.
Okay, Mr. Wright's pre-filed testimony will be entered, and this is the March 18th testimony, will be entered into the record as though given orally from the stand. You got two exhibits. The tariff will be entered as exhibit number. Okay, we'll put them both together, Exhibits A and B, the tariff and bill of lading, will be entered as exhibit number 3.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask?
Hang on one second, Commissioner Belzer.
Mr. Tarini, may I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
I know that Mr. Wright is preparing to adopt his testimony, but you've noted that the testimony was filed with a verification. My copy does not show that that verification has been signed.
Well, it may be an error if that is the case.
Okay, I just looked at
We had a signed verification. We can provide one.
Okay.
Ms. Belser, Commissioner Belser, we had filed that verification planning for the eventuality this hearing may not take place. I mean, they typically aren't required. And Mr. Wright's adopted his testimony.
and I'm fine with
under
that.
oath.
You were just pointing out that it was verified, and so I just looked at the DMS, and I don't see a signature on that one as well. Just be aware of that, please.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Terraini.
Mr. Wright, what is your business address?
It's 209 Depot Street, Greer, South Carolina, 29650. That's Unit F2.
Could you tell the commission a little bit about your educational background?
Sure. I have a bachelor's of civil engineering from Clemson University, and I'm also a licensed commercial unlimited contractor.
How about your business experience?
I have pretty good extensive business experience. I spent, after college, I spent quite a few years in the manufacturing sector as a project manager and a site engineer, all the way up to director. And after I left manufacturing and went out on my own to pursue entrepreneurship, I started a construction company, Wright Constructors, which is operating to this day and doing well and in good standing. I also started a company called Helix Spring and Manufacturing. We're a supplier of springs and other manufactured hardware for industry, and that is located in Duncan, South Carolina, and it is a small business but up and running and doing very well. And I also own another small LLC called WC Ventures, and it's primarily a real estate investment business, buy and sell real estate. My construction company rehabs the real estate that we buy. And again, business in good standing, good practices, and we have been successful.
What led you to the moving business?
I definitely had seen a need for it. Being in construction, being in the real estate market, we found ourselves that getting good quality moving companies was more difficult than you'd think or than I would have thought. And we started to see a need. We also saw that the lead times for the local companies were really high, 2 and 3 weeks out. It was very difficult to get would be very difficult to get movers in the next few days to do anything, and that led me to the idea that there was a market for it.
And did you establish the Moving Gurus? Is that your company?
Yes, I did.
Are you the sole member, or are there other members of that company?
I'm the sole member.
Is the company in good standing?
It is.
Tell us about the Moving Gurus. When did you start it?
In September, well, August, it was organized August 12th of 2019.
How many employees do you have?
3 employees.
And who are they?
Michael Hall, Ada Cruz, and Lindsay Whitley.
What do they do?
Michael Hall's our operations manager / supervising mover. Ida Cruz she's just recently hired. She's our new receptionist. And Lindsay Whitley is our bookkeeper. She also works for 2 of my other companies.
You said Michael Hall is your supervisor? I didn't catch that title.
I'm sorry, yeah, he's our operations manager, and he's also our supervising mover. So he's our lead mover and runs all the jobs, is prepared to run all the jobs.
Does Michael Hall have experience in the moving business?
He does. He has 4 years of experience in the moving business, working full-time as a professional mover.
How will you go about hiring employees for your moves? Are you going to use contract employees, or how does that work?
Yeah, initially we plan to use contract employees. Those employees would come from places like previous relationships that, for instance, Michael Hall would have, having worked with other contract labor movers, so reliable guys that he already knows. We also have 2 other avenues that we're currently had originally planned on using and still plan to use and have used to some degree, which is we use a good many young men from the Riverside High School football team here in Greer, and then also Greenville Tech. We have made contacts and are starting to work with, or wanting to start to work with, some of these young students on contract labor. The hours are extremely flexible, and this business really lends itself to a lot of the jobs start at odd times, and so we and only go for a few hours. So we feel like contract labor is a good way to go about it.
How do you train your employees?
Yeah, so the training is done primarily on the job. We are in the process right now of writing a procedural manual for training. We ultimately want to have everything be a process and procedure. That's how I developed my other businesses, and that's how I plan to develop this one, is to have written training manuals, to have written procedures and policies and plans in place. So we expect to have some upfront training for some of the contract laborers, but generally speaking, the supervising movers would be expected to be experienced movers, having had a good many hours of moving experience under their belt, and they would be training the other laborers to then eventually, hopefully, take over in supervisor roles themselves.
Have you or any of your employees had their licenses suspended in the past 12 months?
No.
Do you have any outstanding judgments against you?
I do not.
Have you or any have you been convicted of a crime before?
No. I was arrested when I was many years ago in 2003, and it was a very unfortunate situation. I was arrested for disorderly conduct, but I have never been in trouble before that, and certainly have not been in trouble since then. Okay.
Do you know if that resulted in a conviction, or did you plead guilty?
I think it did. I mean, I paid a fine for sure. Yeah. So yeah, but yeah.
Forfeited bond. Okay.
Yeah.
Does your company lease or own a truck?
Yeah, we own a 2012 Freightliner 26-foot box truck.
Do you have equipment with which to make your moves, like dollies and blankets and other things?
Yes, we currently have dollies, blankets, shoulder dollies, and we have all the appropriate equipment needed to make a move today.
How about insurance? Do you have insurance, or are you going to purchase insurance for the company?
We already have insurance. As a matter of fact, when we started the company, and starting September 1st, we prepaid for a year's worth of insurance, liability and cargo. I do see that what the limits are, but we felt it was prudent to have $2 million aggregate for liability, $1 million per claim, and then we also could carry $50,000 in cargo insurance.
Great. And tell the commission about your longer-term plan for this business, say a 5-year plan. What do you envision in the future?
Sure. Our 5-year plan, at the end of 5 years, we have a couple of touchstone benchmarks goals that we expect to meet, and the first one for us is to become the Greenville News' #1 moving company, or the best in the upstate. That's our plan. It's part of our initial plan. The second is to, at the end of 5 years, have a full set of written policy and procedure manuals, the type that you would run any large company with. And at the end of that 5 years, we would hope to be in a position to sell franchises of this company.
And how will you advertise your services?
Sure. Primarily Google. We are working with an advertising agency right now to improve our SEO, and certainly Google Ads will get us there in the first place. But Yelp, Google, possibly some radio, but those would be our main, internet would be our main advertising.
You'll add, I assume with this kind of growth, you'll need to add employees. You have some notion of, say, how many employees you may have a year or so down the line compared to what you have now?
Sure, yeah. So as a matter of fact, until this recent month, we had fully expected to buy a second truck at the beginning of this busy season after our licensing was hopefully approved. And so we had planned to buy a second truck, which in our opinion, we think we need. And based on Mike's experience, our operations manager, Mike Hall, based on his experience, we think we need 4 supervising drivers, and we really think we need another 8 contract laborers, sort of in the flow, part-time guys, in order to man 2 trucks. So certainly this first year we'd hoped to and expected to have 2 trucks. I believe that the current plan is to see how things play out over the next 2 months, and possibly run a little leaner this summer. But I fully expect us to add another truck by the end of the year, probably.
It sounds like, of course, everybody's got everything on hold right now, but it sounds like you could have as many as a dozen employees on the payroll at one time or another, or at least working for you at one time or another, between drivers, supervisors, office, etc. Is that right?
I believe so, yeah. Yes, sir.
Now, you have a bill of lading attached to your testimony as Exhibit B. Are you aware that that bill of lading has to be used for every move that's conducted by the moving gurus?
I am aware, yes.
And they need to be numbered and retained in your files, correct?
Yes, sir.
You also have a tariff that's attached as Exhibit A to your testimony. Are those the rates that you will charge for your moves, the tariff rates?
Yes, sir, that is what we'll charge.
And have you conferred with Mr. McGill regarding the terms in this tariff?
Yes, I did.
And you have published a notice of this application in the Charleston Post and Courier on January 20th. Is that correct? Or at least we published one on your behalf.
Yes.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Mr. Wright, those are all the questions that I have for you. Please answer any questions that counsel for ORS, Ms. Pittman, may have for you or the commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Terraney. Ms. Pittman from ORS, do you have any questions for the applicant?
4 or more, 5 or more employees for workers' comp.
No questions from ORS.
Thank you, Ms. Pittman. Okay, commissioners. Any questions? Commissioner
Mr.
Urban?
Chairman?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Urban.
I wanted to tell you that I appreciate your willingness to do this by teleconference call today, and that I represent Greenville Spartanburg, so I wish you well in your business endeavors, Mr. Wright. I did want to remind you that once you get 4 more employees, you're going to need to get workers' compensation coverage. I'm sure you knew that.
We certainly do know that, yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Good. Sometimes people that are not familiar with the law make the mistake of not getting insurance, and then somebody gets hurt, and it creates problems for them. So I'm glad you're aware of that. But wish you well.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Urban. Anything else, Commissioner Urban?
No, sir.
Okay. Other commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Belser.
thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Wright.
Good afternoon.
I too would like to thank you and Mr. Terraney, as well as the members of the Office of Regulatory Staff, for agreeing to participate in this virtual hearing today. Y'all are kind of the guinea pigs, and we appreciate y'all being the first and working with us on these. Mr. Wright, I'm looking at your tariff. If you could look at page 6 on your tariff with me.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm looking under supplies. If you have to use cam buckle straps in a move, are you charging the customer $8, or is that if they buy them? I'm just curious.
Those are products that are for sale. We would not charge them to use any of our products besides boxes.
Okay.
Yeah, but if they, we believe that there's an opportunity there, not an opportunity, but really a service that we could provide to a customer that, say, some part of their move is, say, bound together with a cam buckle strap, and they feel that they prefer us to just leave it with them, we'd be glad to for that charge, which is a nominal fee, actually.
Okay. I was just curious about, and the same thing,
Yeah.
the blankets and the straps are kind of what caught my eye there. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that you call your workers gurus in your tariff. So I wish you well.
Yes.
I wish you well and a lot of success. But thank y'all for making the presentation today.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Belser. Commissioners, any other questions? Okay. All right. Well then, Mr. Wright, we will let you, I don't know how you don't step down. This is a virtual hearing. This is the, anyway, we're finished with Mr. Terraney and Mr. Wright for the moment. And we'll go to Ms. Pittman from ORS.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the commission. Last Thursday, on March 19th, we filed a letter stating that we wouldn't be filing testimony in this docket. We, based on our review of the application and the applicant's records and equipment, we feel that the applicant meets the requirements of fit, willing, and able to be a household good mover in the state of South Carolina. While we didn't file testimony, as you can see, 6 feet away from me, sort of, I have Mr. Thomas McGill. If the commissioners have any questions, I'd be happy to turn it over to him.
Any questions from Mr. McGill? I know he's chomping at the bit to get answer a question virtually instead of being in front of us today. Okay, looks like hang on 1 second. Okay, thank you. Mr. McGill, looks like you get off on that. Ms. Pittman, do you want that letter entered?
Yes, please. If we could enter the March 19th, 2020 letter as the next hearing exhibit.
Okay, the letter will be entered as hearing exhibit number 4. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So no questions from Mr. McGill. Ms. Pittman, anything else from ORS?
Nothing further from ORS.
Okay, I think that takes care of anything else, either Mr. Terraini that needs to come up or anyone else. I want to make sure we, not seeing everybody, it's want to make sure we don't leave anything else out. We appreciate everybody being here virtually. It was, and thanks for patience with us trying to work through this process first time. So if there's nothing else, we'll certainly act on this as soon as practical, and we are adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.